Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another week on the Daily Creative Challenge. How is everyone? Hello, Sam. Hello, Robin. Hello, Anthony. Eric. How is everyone going today? We are here in San Francisco. Tell me, where are you writing from or where are you tuning on from? Hello from Brazil. Hello. Brazil in the house. Hi, Odi. Hello, everyone. Hey, Colby. Nice seeing a lot of familiar faces. Hope you all had a wonderful weekend. Oh, hello from Italy, Argentina. I had fun in San Francisco this weekend. Hello, Michelle. How is everyone? From Texas, Egypt, Saudi Arabia. Nice. From Miami. I know we all have really different time schedules, so hope you're like, if it's really in the morning, hope you're getting some coffee or whatever you have. A glorious day in the UK. Nice. Good to know. Okay, welcome. We're just gonna start. The first thing I want to do is cover the basics of how you can join the challenge. Basically, this is the Daily Creative Challenge is a challenge where you can learn a few tricks, learn a few tips about how to use different tools in Photoshop, and you can also interact with the community. You can explore, you can engage with people that are interested in similar stuff than you do. So the first thing you have to do is you go to behance.net/challenge/Photoshop. And here you're going to be on the main website, and you can basically just press here, take the challenge, and you can also click here and subscribe. And it's basically going to give you, it's going to send you notifications on when a new challenge is going to happen or like what challenge is currently happening. So this is pretty cool for you to be aware of what's going on. Also, something that I recommend and I suggest everyone is just join the community chat. You just press here, join the community chat. Or on the bottom, you can also press join us. And this is gonna take you to the Discord website, which is a really cool platform. I've been seeing a lot of people posting their projects each day. Everyone is doing really cool and interesting stuff. And I see, if you go here on the left on this panel, you can select on current challenge and you can see what's going on in that week. You can see here how people were making composition of landscapes, making day scenes, night scenes. This is really cool, creating mood boards. You can also take a look at past challenges here and see what people were up to. And also you can, ask questions, tips and tricks, career advice, and you can just start talking with everyone on the chat. Okay, cool. Now let's start with today we're gonna cover the basics of 3D on Photoshop, and something that is really cool. Let me just go to my Photoshop. Is that, well, let's just cover the basics. I have a couple of stuff for you. So this is 2D. You basically have a X and Y axis. If you wanna do 3D, you add a new axis, which is the Z axis, which basically gives you depth as well. So that's really cool and interesting, and it's really powerful. So you can see the main difference here, just covering the basic of math. So we're gonna be covering 3D. So everything you use on Photoshop is on 2D. However, it's making really good job in terms of making or adding layers to 2D to make it look like 3D. So it's basically adding 3D properties so that you can start playing with them. There are different ways you can start importing your 3D on Photoshop. The first thing is you can just go on the menu here, 3D, new 3D layer from file, and you can just import any 3D file that you have. I'm not gonna do that right now, but I'm gonna just let you know how. There's many websites or places you can download and look for assets. If you go to Adobe Stock, you can start looking for different assets here. For example, you can start looking for models, materials, lights. So you know, if you feel like you wanna if you wanna start using your own, or you wanna buy something, or you wanna download something from the web, do it. What I'm gonna do right now is basically I'm gonna show you how you can start creating your own 3D models or your own shapes using Photoshop. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open a new scene, which is this one. And then I'm just gonna go on the 3D menu, 3D, then I'm gonna go to new mesh from layer, mesh presets. And here you're gonna have a bunch of different options you can use. I'm just gonna go with the main one, with a really simple one, which is the cube. I'm gonna select the cube. Then it's gonna ask you, do you wanna change to 3D workspace? I'm gonna click yes. And here you're gonna have on the right side, you're gonna have your properties and your panel here. You can just easily go back to photography or essentials by just pressing this on the top right corner here, and you can just change. Right now I'm in 3D, and basically this is gonna be where you are gonna be creating or manipulating or changing all the properties from your 3D here as well. And you can also do it from the menu here. So once you already have this, you're just gonna see this cube, right? But so here on the bottom right, I'm gonna click on scene, and then I'm gonna go to my canvas, and I'm gonna start moving it around. So now you see that I took just a simple layer and I just changed it to 3D object. And here what I want you to see is, you see this grid on the bottom. This is really helpful because it's gonna help you, and it's gonna work as a visual reference for you. It's gonna help you work on perspective because you're gonna be working with, for example, you're gonna have a background of just a photography, and then you can also start playing with shadows, as you can see here. The way you play with shadows is, you can see on this panel here, you can see this little icon here, which is basically this sort of a light. So if you press here, you're gonna see this weird looking like handle here. So if you start pulling this around, you're gonna see how the shape, the shadow is gonna start changing a little bit. Right, you can see how here. And if you go on the right on your properties, you can sort of change the intensity. You can start changing the shadow softness. You can even change the color. So let's see color here. Let's change it to red. Oops, okay. Okay, cool. Red here. And you can, you can start changing the intensity of how that light is affecting the cube in general, right? So I'm gonna just add a little bit more shadow here, and that's super cool stuff that you can do. Besides this, now that you know how to basically move around the scene, you can just go, and here you're gonna have the different elements in your composition. So you're gonna have the scene here, the cube, and the infinite light. If you grab the cube, you're gonna be able to manipulate it and change and basically do a ton of things with it. If you see here on the top, you're gonna have this menu, and here, if you hover over it, you're gonna see when it's happening. So here, for example, rotate, you can start rotating the cube like this. If you take the next one, I think it's the name is roll. Yeah, you're gonna be able to roll the cube, and so this is, you can move it on the different axes, X, Y, and Z. With this one, you can basically slide the object, and here you can just basically change the size. You can scale it any way you want. So you are able to make all these changes here, but you can also interact with the cube itself. So if you go, let's just go to the bottom. If you go and start interacting with it, so you see here on the middle, you can see how when you hover over something, it's gonna turn into yellow. So you're gonna be able to start like changing from that part. If you go here, you're gonna see how it's changing. You can just roll, hover, rotate. You can start moving along the y-axis. If you go to red on the x, the blue on the z. So this is super cool, and I mean, it depends on how you feel comfortable. Something you have to be taking in note is that, look, I'm making all these changes and I'm selecting the whole cube. But if you open it, you're gonna see how it has different elements, right? It has the front, has the right, has the back, the left. So let's say I go to the front and I just change this. I can just start changing and manipulating all the elements that you have here. Yeah, so you can just yeah, so what I did is I created 3D, new mesh from layer, mesh presets, and I just went to the cube because it's a really simple object we can work on. But you have all these different really cool effects here or objects here you can start playing with. So I was saying, be careful which one you're selecting. If you want to change the whole cube, you can just go into the cube and start messing around with it. But if you start selecting each of them individually, you're going to be just messing around with the one you have selected. And here, you know, I can just make it smaller like this, and so on. You can just do all the stuff that I just told you. Like, you can rotate it, you can scale it, you can move it. So okay, let's. I like it this way. Something else that I have prepared for you. It's so materials. If you go to if you select the cube, you have different options here. This is just the properties, meshes, materials, lights. If you go to materials, you're gonna, under properties, you're gonna have different options. So let's say I grab this option here, and you can start changing the material that is being applied to your object, and you have many you can play with. Because I also choose some color is going to affect as well, so you have to be careful on the color you're selecting. But for example, here I just selected if I zoom in, you can see how what's happening here. Wait, how I just apply this texture, this brick texture on it, and you can start changing different characteristics like shine, reflection, roughness, bump. A really cool thing that you can do is you can even import. You can use your own textures. If someone is really interested in this, you can just dig deeper into this. I'm happy to ask any questions. So, for example, now that I have this image here, I want to apply the same texture to all the sides on the cube. So the way you do this is, I go to my scene, I'm gonna turn this. You basically just grab the eyedropper 3D material tool. You're gonna see how your cursor turns into this sort of eyedropper. You're gonna select what you want, and then pressing Alt and Option, you're just gonna start painting on top of the ones that you want to change. Oops. It's gonna go to the bottom. Cool. Now we already have this. Just gonna zoom out. And once you have this, and you just want to visualize your cube, if you press Command H or Control H with Windows, you're gonna be able to hide all this visual reference that you have. So everything on the on what you're working is gonna be the same as what you are. For example, when you work with guides, with rulers, so everything you can just hide. And let's say, for example, I go to my layers and I just want to start adding my scene. Just gonna drop this into my scene. I'm gonna put the cube on top, and I'm gonna make my grid appear. And with the scene selected, I'm gonna be able to just adjusting the grid to make it look like it actually fits my image. So now what I have here, I'm gonna go to my cube, I'm gonna scale it, I'm gonna hide the grid, and then you see here how I can just start rotating the cube and make it look like the shape that I actually want to do. If I feel like I want to, let's gonna zoom out. If I feel like I want to change where the light is coming from to make it look like it's coming from the same source light as the photo, I'm just gonna change it really quickly. Command H, and then I start adding these really cool 3D elements here. Something else I'm gonna do is the same way you're gonna be you work with layers on not a 3D environment. It's just you're gonna start applying different layers and gradient maps on top. So right. So I'm just gonna go here quickly. Go to my here on the bottom. I'm gonna go to adjustment layers. I'm gonna select brightness and contrast. If you press this again, if you press this little square with an arrow to the down, you're gonna be able to clip only that effect to my, in this case, my cube, and then I'm just gonna start making it brighter, changing the contrast. I'm also gonna be able to color balance the same. When I clip it to my image, change the color a little bit. And at the end, I'm just gonna add a simple gradient map. Just gonna go to soft light and just gonna go select. And just gonna clip it again. So it's just gonna affect my, I'm just gonna affect the cube. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna save this. Well, one last thing, when you're working on using 3D, you're gonna have to, where is this? Okay, cool. Basically, what you're doing right now, if you're doing all these changes on 3D, Photoshop is actually just, how do you say this? It's just basically keeping up with all the changes in real time, but it's just not making, it's just not giving you how it actually looks like. If you want to actually do that, it's just you're gonna have to go to the bottom and press render, and you see here on the left, you're gonna see the progression of the rendering. And basically, what this is doing is Photoshop is calculating the shadows, the light, and everything on top of your scene. And then you can see here how much, like right now is 4%. It all depends on the time this is gonna take. It depends on the complexity of your scene, but also on your GPU. So it all depends actually on the kind of computer and the scene that you have. So I mean, it can take minutes, can take hours, can take even days. You know, it depends on how crazy or complex is your scene. If you press ESC, you can just interrupt the rendering. And if you just press again, you're gonna resume it. So, you know, just make a scene, start experimenting with it. And this is a really cool, I really love playing with 3D. These are the basics. And then I'm just gonna show you a couple of stuff. I'm just gonna save this. Challenge number, I think it's 5. Okay, cool. JPEG, save, cool. And then if I go to my Discord, I'm just gonna go to current challenge, press the plus, and then I'm just gonna go on challenge number 5. Cool. Open. Challenge number 5. Upload. Cool. Now we already have this and we have some more time. I'm just gonna show you a couple more things you can actually do with 3D. So let's just create a new composition. What is happening here? Okay, just do it 920 by 1080. Cool, create. So what I did was go into 3D, new mesh from layer, and mesh presets, and I just created a simple object, which is a cube. What you can do is something that is called extrude, which is basically you grab a shape and use yeah, I'm reading a lot of feedback right now. So basically extruding is you just grab a shape and you just grab a material and just pass it under it. It's like, I don't know, like making pasta, right? You have a shape and you just grab this material and pass it through it. And what you're gonna get is this long sort of object with the shape of that shape that you selected, right? So for example, I'm gonna show you right now, I'm just gonna use the shape of the canvas, which is this rectangle. And if I go to 3D and new extrusion from selected layer, it's gonna happen the same, but now when I move it, you're gonna see how my cube is here. I'm just gonna scale it a little bit. Scale. Oops. And then when you start using extrusions, you're gonna see how you're gonna get way more options on your menu here. So for example, here you can change the size of the extrusion. You can just go back and forth. If you go to the next option, which is here, it's deform. You're gonna start twisting your 3D. You're gonna start tapering. You can make it change like the X and Y angle. You can bend, you can even shear. So, you know, you can just, I suggest you start experimenting with it. Just use bend, change. And the same thing you have on your right, you can just do the same thing while interacting with the object, right? So for example, here, if you go and twist, you can just twist here and you're just gonna do it on top of the object. And if you start getting to the center, you're gonna start having the same options, but they're gonna change, right? So if you go to this sort of wheel, it's twist. If you go near, bend. If you go even near, you have tapper, and then you just, oops, sorry, what happened here? Yeah, here, you can just start extruding, and you know, you can start playing with all of this, and this is really cool. And the same, you can start applying textures, colors. Something else you can do is, let's grab a new one. Let's see if my computer doesn't break. Okay, cool. Let's just grab something else here. And let's say, for example, I just want to, so you can create 3D objects by going here on the menu, but you can also use this, your panel here. So let me show you really quickly. I'm just gonna grab the lasso tool, and I'm gonna create this really random shape. And now here, I'm just gonna go to current selection. And if I press create, I'm just gonna create, wait, scene. I'm gonna create a 3D object with that shape. And this is really cool because you can just now start experimenting with shapes, with colors, with whatever you want. If you put a photo on the background of this, you can just get the shape with the image or color that you have on the back. So this is all that we have for today. I hope you learned the basics of 3D. 3D is a really complicated but really cool world. If anyone is really interested, go and do some research on it. Ask me any questions. I personally love playing with 3D. I hope this is work for you, and stay tuned for the next that is happening here on Adobe Live. And yeah, I can wait to see what you're all start doing with this. And see you all tomorrow.